Testing principles. So once you have written the code, you need to verify, you need to validate the code. For that, we will use the testing principles, or these principles needs to be known. Now here is Glenford J. Myers. He has written a very famous book called The Art of Software Testing. Now this is a classic book on software testing. So he gave certain rules. Whenever someone is testing, so as a software tester, or as a software engineer, or as a software professional, you need to know that testing is the process of executing a program with the intent of finding an error. Why I read this line? This is the definition of testing. Testing is done with an intent to find an error. So if you have done a testing and if you are not able to get any error, that means you failed a testing. You didn't do a good testing. So a good test case is all possibilities to check. You will check the boundary values, you will put the illegal values, you will put the legal values as well. So these are the test case. For example, if integer is there, you will try to put some floating point values. So a good test case is that which has the highest probability or possibility of finding an error which is yet undiscovered. The error you know is okay, but the error which is undiscovered, the good test case will pick it, take it out and put in front of you. A successful test is one that uncovers a yet undiscovered error. That is, if an error is there and your test is not finding it, your test is unsuccessful. Okay? So testing will demonstrate various things. You'll start with the software requirement specification. You will check for certain behavioral and performance related issue of the software. There are certain functional requirements, there are some certain non-functional requirements, and these all needs to be checked for a quality software. So quality is all about these. So whenever we collect this data of testing data is all about reliability and quality, how much you rely on the software, how much quality your software has. So this data of testing is a good indication of software reliability and the quantity as a whole. How many times software failed, what errors have come, what are the minor issues, what are the major issues, can it be used in the place of the environment for which this software has been built. This is reliability and quality. The testing cannot show the absence of errors and defects. Let me read it again. Testing can show the presence of errors and defects. This we learned again. The first line which we read was testing can show the presence of error and defect. So the negation of the sentence is testing cannot show the absence of errors and defects. Everett and Meyer, they suggested certain additional principles, if any tester, any software professional wants to do the testing. So we need to follow it all through the software development life cycle. First is all tests should be traceable to customer requirements. That is, there are certain customer requirements, put it in the form of requirement gathering in the form of SRS. So there are certain requirements. So all the test cases will be generated from here only. So all the testing will be traceable to SRS. Test should be planned long before testing begins. What we do generally is we write a code and then prepare for testing. No, testing has to be done earlier. The Pareto principle applies to software testing. Now I have to discuss this now. Pareto principle is, see, if we have a software, for example, this is our software, right? This is all code. This is all the code. Now you take the 20% of the code. So the Pareto principle is saying the 20% of the whole code will constitute or will give you 80% of the errors. For example, if you have, I'll just give you numbers also. That is, a small part of the code will give you maximum error. For example, 10 lines you have written, 2 lines will give you 80% of the error. Okay, that the other 8 lines may only give 20% of the error. The testing should begin in small and progress toward testing in large. That is, you'll start with the unit testing. then you will do the integration testing, then any changes there, regression testing, then validation verification, these all, and then finally the beta testing, like the acceptance testing. So start with the smaller testing and then you'll go up to the larger testing. Exhaustive testing is not possible. You can test up to 99%, 100% may not be possible, but the testing should be done. So what is this? This line I would like to read it, then I'll explain. Apply to each module in the system a testing effort corresponding with its expected fault density. Wherever the problem is, wherever the problem can come, we need to test it. That is, if you have produced new modules, some changes have come, software changes, and you have put in or implemented certain module. Either this module is not well understood or this module is newly created. The 80% of the problem will come from here. So the fault density of this particular code or this area is highest. So we need to test for this 20%. Static testing techniques can yield high results. That is, normally we use some tools like LDRA, like the rational tools, or some debuggers for static dynamic analysis like this. So actually the result, the theory is something different. It will just give you 15% of the error. 85% of the error can be detected using static analysis. That is, you have the requirement, you can go to the requirement check, you can go to the user manual, you can check, you can go to the code, you can check, you can do the technical review, you can go do the code walkthrough. All these are the static testing techniques, and these will give you the highest result possible. Okay, so 85% errors can be uncovered only without even running the code. Track defects and look for the patterns in defects uncovered by testing. Now, as I said, testing is the good indicator of your quality, reliability, various aspect of the software. So the total defects will tell you how much software quality is there. That is, if 100 errors are there, if you can make it to 10, the quality will be better. The type of defect is a measure of the software stability. There can be performance issue, usability issue. You can have, there's so many non-functional, functional requirement. So what are the type of defect? Whether it is coming in the functional requirement or the non-functional, or whether your software is failing, that is the type of defect, then this will correspond to the stability of the software. So total defect will give you quality. Types of defect will give you stability. Okay. For example, if there is an error box and a question mark or a dot is there, which you missed by somehow, that doesn't correspond to stability, that type of defect. Pattern of defects found over time can forecast number of expected defects. So say if you are delivering one increment and there is some number of defect, then you give the software increment say after 3 months, and then you uncovered here there are some certain number of defects, say after 3 months. So the number of these two defects will give you a forecast or an idea of how many expected defects you will have to encounter in the third increment. Include test cases that demonstrate software is behaving correctly. Normally we include test cases where we want to find out whether the software is not working, or why the software will behave incorrectly. But here we have to talk about and give the test cases to check whether the software is behaving correctly or not. Most of the time in the today agile environment, we always have changes. For example, if we change this line in the code, this error or this changing of the line may propagate error to some other function, some other module. So regression test has to be done that changes might not give or produce some other errors because of certain changes.